The cost of operation of the building is really minimal. At this point, 80% of the heat is provided from the solar thermal array. More than 100% of our electricity is brought in from the solar PV array.
The Tin Mountain Nature Learning Center is a reflection of our mission. It is a state-of-the-art building which is a teaching tool for anyone who's interested in conserving energy.
If people visiting Tin Mountain look at what we've accomplished, and here we are in this net zero building, it's a great role model for them. They can go away thinking, boy, if Tin Mountain can do this, we can do it.
It's inspiring people to want to aspire to be more carbon neutral and try to figure out how to do it.
What I like to hope is that its work with the children is so important that they can begin to make these choices that are so important for our futures.
What's happening in the industry right now is remarkable. Everywhere you look, there are changes and new things coming down the pike that will change the way we build in the future.
I hope from this project that others with commercial plans will look at our facility and say, hey, we can become net zero here in New Hampshire at these higher latitudes. Although Tin Mountain Conservation Center has been around for 35 years, the first 26 years that we were around, we had to do our programs from rented office space in probably a half a dozen areas. Building the new facility allowed us to expand our mission. Not only are we still serving the schools, the camps, and the community programs, we're now offering programs that demonstrate sustainable forestry, sustainable agriculture, and sustainable energy use. Tin Mountain went through a very nice selection process in finding this location. We were looking for some place close by. We serve the Mount Washington Valley. This fit that very well. Although we looked at probably 12.5 locations, the board finally agreed that this offered the most. It had the pond, it had a good spot up here for building.
And the site had been a farm, and the fields had grown up over time and had been logged. And one of the early decisions was to place the building in an area where the logging yard was, because we were going to have to clear trees anyway. By utilizing the area of the logging yard, we were able to take advantage of some open area already and then open it up further for really good solar exposure.
When we did this project, there were many people that came forward and said, gee, solar energy works well in the southeast and down where the sun shines all the time. The northeast, it wasn't that great a fit. Well, we were very happy to show that they were wrong. And in doing that, we've also shown that there are a lot of options for us living in the northeast to reduce our CO2 footprint, to live comfortably in buildings, and just live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Tin Mountain really embodies some of the values that are traditional New England values that go back to when the settlers first came to New Hampshire, and they were building using materials from the site. They tried to orient their buildings so they got the best sun they could. They were heating them with local materials because they would cut down trees. Everything was from the site, and we're really trying to carry those values forward.
One of the things that made the Tin Mountain project a success from the start was that the client knew what they wanted, and they hired an architect who was fully conversant with the integrated design process and really excited about the opportunity to deliver a net zero building in Mount Washington Valley.
Being net zero provides a certain level of resiliency here as well. I look at other facilities and other nonprofits, and they're kind of saddled with those payments every month to pay for electric and power. We don't have those payments. We can invest those dollars in programs and make a really big difference in the community.
We send our kids to the Tin Mountain camp here. We love the fact that the building, the idea of a net zero building, is closely in line with our values and the values that we try to instill in our kids by sending them here to this camp.
The building committee was very aware of the mission when we put the building plans together. And in doing so, we very much wanted to use local materials, local craftsmen, and we wanted to be very frugal and efficient in the use of our dollars for conservation.
Doing it at a high-performance building, basically with higher levels of insulation, better air sealing, actually allow one to use a smaller heating system, which then really makes the building actually more economical. And that is a really vital piece of doing a sustainable design.
The building itself is super insulated, spray foam insulation. We could afford 2 inches, and that's a good barrier for moisture and heat, and we backfill with the rest with conventional bats. But that kept the building nice and tight. The next step was then to look and see how do we want to heat and provide electricity here. We have 1,000 square feet of solar thermal panels, and those are what provide the hot water for our radiant floor here. That provides about 80% of our thermal needs in heating this place through the winter. We store whatever we have collected during the day in a 1,600-gallon tank of water in the basement, and that allows us to heat the building through the night and through some of those cloudy days. The photovoltaic solar electric panels, about 1,000 square feet of paneling, they produce about 14,000 kilowatt hours of electricity each year, and we use about 13,000 kilowatt hours. So that leaves us a balance of about 1,000 kilowatt hours. We're on net metering with Public Service in New Hampshire, so that we sell back essentially our electricity to them, and we get the balance, and that 1,000 kilowatt hours of balance can be carried over to the next year then. When we built the project, we had a number of goals in mind. In the forefront would be just being wise users of all the materials that we used. We did have a dumpster on site, but the philosophy was really think hard before you throw anything in that dumpster. We were resourceful, I guess, in the way in which we found wood for using in this building.
The contractors who did the work in a lot of ways were artists. I mean, David Shedd was phenomenal, and he built the fireplace as well as the timber frame. And Malcolm Thomas, who was heading up the construction project, really got excited about using native materials. When we cleared the woods, we actually had all the timbers, anything that was usable as timber was cut in on-site with a bandsaw mill for use in the building, and the entire building was sheathed using native material.
We decided that we wanted to represent as many of the species in the woodlot as we could, in as creative a manner as we could. We also wanted to use local labor and pay a living wage and let the people involved be as responsible and accountable and take ownership of the project as best they could.
I think merely coming into the building, understanding that the wood in it alone is all local woods, and that you don't have to get these exotic species from wherever to have these beautiful woods. That's very a powerful statement.
The ventilation system for the building utilizes HRV, or heat recovery ventilation units. And the way those work is the exhaust air is used to heat the incoming air, so you get a transfer of heat and minimize heat loss, but at the same time you have good fresh air in the building at all times.
As a staff member, it is a great place to work. The fact that there are less VOCs because it's all natural woods, hardly any plywood, glues, even the paints are used to have low VOCs. A healthy building with windows in every room for good ventilation, it's fabulous.
Good design is really incredible in the way it can really affect people. Good light makes a huge difference. Good proportion of spaces, the use of materials and details all influence how people react and relate to each other and to the building itself. The space, I think, particularly in the meeting room, really has a tremendous impact on people. I mean, the fact that people want to get married in that room is a real honor as far as I'm concerned.
We worked within the shell. The architect and the solar designer knew what they needed for the roof itself. We had to hold that roof up at that particular pitch and for that particular size. And so this design is basically a reflection of that primary consideration. We settled on a timber frame design that came from a church in New Jersey maybe 200 or more years ago. It's called a raised truss, and it, in some ways, it brings a little bit of a feeling that a church might have.
We always looked at the fireplace as something, if we're gonna have a great room and we're an environmental community and do programs in the outdoors, we had to have some fancy fireplace, is what we thought.
Fireplaces are generally inefficient by today's standards, but this particular fireplace is a Rumford design, which is as efficient as a fireplace can be.
We created a thermal break between the fireplace and the foundation with a glass insulating product that can withstand tremendous compression. We also insulated the fireplace chimney core from the exterior, so there's insulation between the stone and the main part of the fireplace, and used a double damper system, one at the throat and one at the top of the chimney, to reduce airflow and minimize heat loss through the fireplace vertically.
Operating a net zero building really does great things for the entire staff here. It makes a statement about who we are. Our members feel attached in some way to that type of lifestyle. The kids that come here for programs, they see it in operation. It's not some mystic thing. They can see that it works. I think it works the same with adults as well. It takes the mystery out of things. It makes us a leader in the environmental community.
One of the unique qualities of Tin Mountain is that the building has a feeling of soul. Everyone feels it, and I would say that it is there in part because of the design, in part because of the people who work there, and in part because of the people who built it. When you get a building where every single person working on and in the building puts their heart and soul in it, you feel it.
Our founder, Barbara Henry, would just be amazed, I think, if she could see this place and really what Tin Mountain has blossomed into.
This building was everything one could dream of.
Net zero is something I think is possible. People can now see it's possible and will hopefully aspire to making it happen wherever possible. And hopefully we will be seeing communities, towns, all reaching net zero in time.